Okay, let's talk about collar cues. So I think first I should explain what they are. So collar cues are a way to communicate with our dog using our collar and leash. So rather than having to yank on our dog or put tons of pressure on there, we can actually teach that with very little contact, just like that little bit of finger pressure on our leash. We can teach them what to do with that. So where this comes in handy, I find we try and be as gentle trainers as we can and not put a lot of pressure on our leash and not pop the collar with the leash and things like that. But I find inevitably there's something that's going to pique our dog's interest and they're going to pull on the end of that leash, and we've got tension there. So naturally, our dogs have what's called an opposition reflex. So what that means is if we pull on them, they tend to lean away from the pull rather than if I pull, move with the pull. They tend to move away from it. And it's the same thing if you were standing there and I came up and shoved you, you're going to oppose that, right, to keep yourself in balance. So that's what we're looking at here. So with the collar cue, I find it can be really helpful just to teach them what that pressure means. So just like if you say sit to your dog, they know exactly what that means, what to do with that. We want to teach them what that collar cue means. So when I put a little bit of pressure on the leash, this is what I want you to do with that. All right, so I'm going to do a little demonstration here with Bryn. And then feel free to pop on afterwards and ask me any questions you have in the comments. I'm happy to answer them after. And remember to post me some video. I'd love to see you guys practice this. And I'd love to challenge you guys to see how gentle can we be with those collar cues. It's pretty cool how little pressure we actually need to be able to guide our dogs into position. So here we go, here's the training video. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're gonna need for this skill. So Bryn's just got on kind of a flat buckle collar here. You can see it there. Move your head, buddy. So just your flat buckle collar is fine. You could certainly teach this using your harness or whatever your typical piece of equipment is. I've also got his leash on, as that's again going to be what we're communicating with. I've got a clicker. So what the clicker is going to do is it's going to give our dogs information of, yes, that's what you did, that's correct. So initially, you'll see that as soon as Bryn makes a tiny little weight shift towards that pressure, I can click and reward that. So that clicker is just a marker to let the dog know, yes, that's what you did that I like. So we can use a verbal marker here too. You could use your yes or your good, or you could use a clicker. I've also got some little treats here. And again, that's going to reinforce Bryn for doing the right thing. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the leash. And I'm not adding pressure, I'm not jerking that leash, I just put a little bit of pressure there. And as soon as I'm seeing that weight shift, and I want you to watch Bryn's body for it, as soon as I see that little bit of a weight shift towards where I'm pulling the leash, I go ahead and click and reward. So again, a little bit of pressure, and I'm going to reinforce that. Initially, we're going for little micro movements here. So I'm going to try one to this side. Thank you, buddy. Okay. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Perfect. So just a little bit of pressure. And as soon as he's moving with that, you'll see I click and reinforce that. Do one away from me. This one's usually our hardest. You can see I'm starting to make my cues more subtle, so rather than have this great big hand gesture here, I've just got the leash close to my body, so it's not the leash that's the cue, it is, good boy, it's not the leash that the cue is the cue, it's that pressure. So try this in different directions. Sometimes I'm going to the front, sometimes I'm going behind him. We could go forward. for as those little movements, and then we can start to ask for a little bit more. So then if I start to leave the pressure on, you should keep moving with that. I want you to notice too that as soon as he moves, I am letting go of my leash, so I don't keep the tension on there. As soon as he moves with that leash, I'm letting go of that pressure, so I'm not keeping that pressure on there. Go. Right. So I hope you found that was helpful. Go ahead and play around with this with your dog. Again, start small. We're just looking for that tiny little weight shift before I would even ask for a step or two. And then we start to fine tune this so that I can get bigger movements, more steps. Our progression would be, can we do this away from distractions? So for example, could we do this away, move my dog away from the little kid with the ice cream cone, right? So again, there, I'm gonna go for tiny little movements before I ever ask for a lot, but I'm just looking for that little weight shift. Whenever I'm working with distractions, I want to build that up slowly. So I'm not gonna start with the little kid with the ice cream cone. I'm probably gonna start with, can you do that away from my hand that looks like I've got food in it? Or can you do that away from my hand with food, or my hand open with food, or another person with food, or just another person that they know that's coming in to greet them. So lots of different applications for this, and it's pretty cool how little pressure we can actually use with our dogs. We don't need to be heavy-handed or rough with them. We can just teach that as a cue that if you feel that sensation, this is what I want you to do with that information. So it's just another cue, just like our sit or down or whatever cues you have with your dog. So again, shoot me your questions in the comments. I'm happy to help. Please pop a video up on the Facebook group. That would make me really happy to see that, and I'm happy to give feedback as well. And happy training.